Hello, and we are back.
Yes, we are. It's sort of hard to come back after a break, isn't it, Kylie?
Well, considering this is our 5th intro record, yes, it is. We're a little out of practice.
It's the hardest bit, the intro, because you're not all warmed up. You haven't done your vocal exercises in a way.
Yes, I think that the intro would be better with a glass of wine, but we have found that the actual episode is better done first thing in the morning. So it's
With the coffee.
Yes, so it's really balancing that. So bear with us for our awkward introductions while we warm back up.
Yeah, you need more laser focus than loosey-goosey. That's why the wine didn't work.
We tested the wine. The episode had to be re-recorded.
Yeah, heavy edit.
All right. Well, we've both had a great break and we're looking forward to bringing you some more stories of creative failures and wins. So to kick off, we'll go into our personal makes and breaks.
Yes, ones that have been found from the last 2 months of being on summer vacay. So, Kylie, what was your highlight?
So, look, in Sydney, a lot of our listeners might know that there was the blooming of what they call a corpse flower at the Royal Botanic Gardens. So this is a very rare, like once in 15-year event, and, it's a critically endangered species from the, depths of Sumatra. And so the reason just like everybody knows about corpse flowers. Anyway, so one was blooming for the first time in 15 years in the Sydney Botanic Gardens. And it was just an absolute feat of marketing genius, the way that they created this real moment for this flower. It's a beautiful, big, very stunning flower, very unusual looking. The reason it's called a corpse flower, I should add, is that as part of its blooming process, it only blooms for 24 hours. And towards the end, it stinks of rotting flesh, basically.
I love that. I know about this.
You know about it, yes.
It was hard to miss in the media, the corpse flower.
It took the world by storm.
Yes, and also that you had your hands on VIP tickets is not the kind of thing you're going to keep from me.
No, absolutely. Straight into the Slack. Selfie, my selfie with the corpse flower.
Yeah, you got to actually go and skip the queue, which wasn't it like 3 hours long?
Yeah, it was 3.5. So they left the viewing hours open until midnight the day that she bloomed. And I was thinking, I'll just like be a weirdo and go at like 11:30 and go and view this flower. But no, it was the queue to view her was 3.5 hours long that night.
To see a giant stinky flower.
Yeah.
And was it stinky? That was the number one thing. Was this flower stinky?
Yeah, so yes, she was. But I will say I thought it was going to be like a lot more acute, like you would walk into this palm house and just be like overwhelmed with the smell of rotting flesh. But it was more like passive. Like I didn't even notice it at first. And then, you kind of go, I'll take a big whiff. And then it was like, I can smell that. But you had to kind of concentrate.
It's a bit disappointing in a way. Like I would almost want the stink, like as part of this experience, to be like, that flower was putrid.
Yeah. But luckily she's very big and majestic, and the way that they had set her up onto this viewing platform, it was very David Lynch, RIP. And I saw this reel that they'd made about how they set it up, and they were taking cues from Queen Victoria's funeral. So she was, it was all very regal and theatrical.
There was dry ice, wasn't there?
Well, it did look like dry ice, but no, like it was humidity there to kind of keep her humid because she's from Sumatra. So it served a purpose, but it certainly was also added to the drama.
We'll mention the live chat.
Yes.
On the live chat of this flower, people were popping off as they do, what is that? Is the plant making that dry ice effect and all that? Like people were confused about that.
Yeah, so there was a live stream, and this is part of my make because it got live streamed, on YouTube, and just the way people came together to support this flower blooming, like by the end of it, the live chat was just keeping me so amused. There was like all this cult language that developed, like WWTF, we watched the flower. and blessed be the bloom, and and everyone's like, she's sucking on a blue raspberry vape. And
that was the vaping.
Yeah. They called her Putricia, which is hilarious. So
very gothic as well.
Yes, she was a very gothic queen, and it's like Putricia is a thick girl sucking on her blue raspberry vape.
People are funny.
Yeah, so it was just so endearing, like watching all these people all over the world like come together and 3.5 hour wait to see this flower, and just made me, the world is full of division and war and, so much horrible stuff at the moment. But, we're also capable of coming together and being little weirdos on a floating rock in space.
Although I would say for the 3 minutes that I spent on the live chat, it was just the typical stuff you see on the internet where, a guest, a patron for the flower had stood in front of it.
A royal subject,
if you will, had stood in front of it. And then someone had said, get out of the way, a live chat person on the keyboard banging away. You're in front of Patricia. And then someone else had written, of course they are. They're allowed to be there. They've waited, and then people are just trolling each other on this live chat. And I'm like, the instinct to get angry, to be a Karen behind your keyboard, on comments is very strong, isn't it?
Yeah, we can't resist, but the original intent of the live stream was
positivity.
Very pure and positive, yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
There was one that was like, oh, this is OnlyFans for botanists. Just a bunch of little weird nerds.
Oh, but yeah, weird nerds. She pulled a Beyonce level of traffic to the Botanic Gardens. This is the biggest moment they've had
in a long
time.
Yeah. No, it was. Anyway, that was my win, or make, I should say.
Okay, well, quickly moving on to my break, I would say, leading up to the pod recording again, I was getting a bit stressed because I was like, nothing bad has happened. I have nothing to talk about. I was a bit smug to you, being like, oh, I just don't have a break. Everything's been pleasant.
I've just been living a pleasant suburban life.
I've just been getting parks and good traffic. I've got nothing to tell you.
Yeah, that school holiday summer traffic. Oh,
it's so
sweet,
good.
Sweet times.
At the beach, manifesting a park at the beach if you're, Sunshine Coast way, which I was, or Gold Coast or anywhere along the Australian eastern coast, I'm guessing, getting that park within 5 minutes, or that moment where it's all blocked and you're going, we're not going to get anything. We're going to have to leave. And then someone pulls out and you're like, bam! I feel like I had a lot of that.
Okay, so you were more primed to talk about a make.
I was. But then in the twist of fate, the universe dealt me not 1, but 2, and now 3 breaks.
3?
Yes, I would say 3 now. 1 last night.
I knew there were 2.
Yeah, there's been a 3rd. All in the lead up to recording this. So it was a sign from the universe, when we get a bit like, oh my God, we've got to do all this work again. It was a sign from the universe to keep at it because she gave me these 3 break moments. So
I love that this podcast means that when something shit or embarrassing happens to us, we're like, yes, I've got something to talk about on the pod.
Well, you actually know this first one because I actually messaged you to say, I've got a break, and it's your classic life break caliber, which is my car broke down. So, no one loves that. I was at a Harris farm, which isn't, it's not a terrible place to be, but it was a very hot 33 degrees. It was on a main road. I had 3-year-old Gus with me and I didn't have roadside assist. So, typical life break. And I was like, oh, it's just a pain when that sort of stuff happens. And annoyingly, the crux of the story is I'd done the right thing, which is a month earlier got my battery changed, for the exact reason I didn't want to be broken down in the middle of nowhere, aka Harris Farm in this case, with my children. And they just didn't clean and put it in properly. So you do the right thing and you still get burnt.
Ouch.
So I was like, yes, text Kylie, I've got a break. Fantastic. We can keep doing the podcast.
I love that's our sign from the universe. I'm going to fuck up Miranda's car.
Yeah.
Even though she tried.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second one happened the same day, which was like the double whammy. And again, this isn't life altering at all, But I have Henry, my older son, is turning 5, and he's a big Mario stan, loves him. And so I thought, I'll finally get him a Mario outfit. I'll get one for Gus, a Luigi outfit.
Typical youngest just gets like
Big
has
character.
to like crack along with the eldest whims.
Yeah, 100%. That was me growing up. Sylvie was strawberry shortcake. I was Daisy Apricot, a made-up name. It doesn't even exist.
Daisy Apricot doesn't exist.
No, I think she was actually called Apricot, and my parents for some reason called her Daisy Apricot, or I did, who knows. But
Sylvie was scented.
when you go to, the exhibition, there's a strawberry shortcake show bag. There's no Daisy Apricot show bag.
No, there's definitely not, no.
But I think, Gus is quite happy with Luigi, but I've realised now in the story the way they've characterised him is Mario is the brave older brother. Like, it actually has this line, Mario is the brave older brother and Luigi is the clumsy younger brother. So I'm like, one day he's just going to be like, no more for me. Anyway.
Well, is Gus more clumsy than Henry?
I mean, he's probably had more accidents.
Well, he's younger, so inherently has more trouble walking.
Yes, and he's had more accidents for sure. But he probably doesn't. Maybe the characters are right if we think about it on that level for them. But anyway, I wanted to get them these costumes, and I also wanted to save $1 and cut out the middleman, aka Big W, and go straight to the source of, in this case, AliExpress. Have you dabbled?
I have not, no.
Yeah, I feel like I want to save a little bit of face and say that I don't tend to use the Timo Sheens unless it's a particularly niche product like this is.
Okay, yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And anyway.
I gave my best friend a going over the other day because she was buying stuff from Temu for her kid's birthday party.
Yeah, I know, but
and I was like, you've got to stop it.
You've got to stop.
It's just like, there's all these like tiny fingers making toys for the kids' birthday takeaway bags.
Yeah, it's just really fucked up. The world is a mental place. Anyway, guilty.
AliExpress, niche, it's controversial, but necessary sometimes.
Sometimes, and I have learned a lesson. I think I will not further dabble. I mean, a lesson that impacted me, which was when the costumes arrived, Mario was perfectly sized for a 5-year-old boy and Luigi was an adult size.
Oh.
So naturally, I put it on straight away. And I didn't hate it. And this is the best bit. So this is where it becomes a good story, really, is when I just casually went out into the living room and spoke to Adam.
And didn't mention anything.
Didn't mention it. I was just in this full Luigi outfit. I was like, are you working from home tomorrow but dressed as Luigi? I don't even know he knew I'd bought the costumes. Anyway.
Did he react?
Yeah, he laughed.
Okay.
But anyway, worth it for the laugh, and I also put it on a group chat. So honestly, I think I got my $12.50, which is what it cost. Not an ethical price point. I got my money's worth out of the laughs.
The lol.
Yeah.
And now another lol, and Halloween's taken care of.
For me, yeah. That's what one of my friends said. She's basically like, well, you're Luigi, Henry's Mario, Adam's Princess Peach, and Gus's Bowser. And Bowser's like the crazy turtle guy. So it all checks out.
That does check, yeah. I was going to say when you're talking about your car breaking down that we've been doing these like personal makes and breaks, I think for 5. This is the 5th episode. So you've done, I think this is your 3rd break. 2 out of 3 of your breaks have included Gus.
I know, right? He's just there for the ride of like a disaster. He was really good. Like he was rolling around.
Was it 3? 3 for 3?
Yeah, is Gus the problem?
Because you had the sunscreen, the breakdown. What was your 3rd one?
I can't remember what my first one was.
Anyway, I'm pretty sure it's at least 2.
And Gus is the problem. He was a good boy at the shops. He kind of like, he had a dinosaur. He rolled around on the ground a bit, which I was like not loving because high traffic area. But, anyway, I'm just going to do my 3rd one really quickly. And that's that the whole family got nits last night.
Amazing.
And they're gone, they're dealt with. It's the first I didn't even know. I didn't know because I've never experienced this before. I didn't even know, but I felt like that was, signs come in threes. Knowing I was recording today, it was just like
they were like, "Don't worry, Miranda, we've got you."
The final push from the universe that we need to keep plugging in and recording these stories.
Yes, I love that. I've never had nits.
That's amazing to get with your ample hair.
Yeah, I do have a lot of hair. You'd think it would be a beacon.
Your mum must have been braiding it up every day.
Yeah, you know what? Not really. Mum was not big on braids.
Well, maybe you just weren't such a feral little kid.
I was just a little nerd in the library. It's like
scrolling.
It's hard to catch nits in the library.
I love that it is. But you're probably looking up artists, preempting this podcast, doing your research at lunch.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I knew I was destined for
journalism.
Yeah. A side hustle in investigative design journalism.
Exactly. Moving along to the very first make of 2025.
Yes, I am excited about this one. I will give you a clue, but I think you're going to get it okay, I've given you a bit more of an obscure one just to draw out the drama.
Excellent.
But I think it's a pretty easy one to get. So you'll find these tasty little treats on the counter of most milk bars or corner stores or dairies, as the New Zealanders call it, around the world.
A Freddo Frog.
No, but good guess. I would say it is the world's most well-known lollipop.
Oh, it's a Chupa Chup.
Yeah. So I am going to be talking about Chupa Chups today.
I have something to say about Chupa Chups straight away.
Okay, go. I love it.
They need to make access to the lollipop more streamlined.
What do you mean?
They can be so hard to open. That little twisty bit of the plastic.
Oh, actually, do you know what? As we are serious researchers, I did my due diligence and did go on Reddit, of course.
Oh, I thought you meant you bought a Chupa Chup.
Oh, I actually had some left over from our launch party.
Our goodie bags, yes.
Yes, but on Reddit, just typing in Chupa Chup, see what comes up. One of the threads I did see was, why is it so hard to unwrap a Chupa Chup?
Yeah, I have spent 5 minutes, and sometimes you need that Chupa Chup if it's going to be to placate a child. You need it in their hot little hands straight away, right?
Now.
Now is when, and then there's the more moaning,
I feel like I should go and open one now.
Give it a test drive. Go ahead.
Should I?
Yeah.
Why not?
We can time you.
Okay. I have a watermelon one here and a grape.
I feel like we've just morphed from a podcast into an unboxing YouTube channel. You can use some ASMR, whatever it is.
Yeah, we're open for brand collaborations, people. Okay, so.
Oh, that sound. So rustly.
Yeah.
Crinkly.
I mean, I didn't find that hard.
She's not done.
Okay. She's in.
Okay, that was I'd give you about 20 seconds.
That was not 20 seconds.
It's not every single one that's hard. You get a busted one.
You win some, you lose some.
Anyway, how's grape going?
She's good. Reminds me of Hubba Bubba.
I was way more Hubba Bubba growing up than I have a vivid recollection of pulling into a service station and getting that grape Hubba Bubba for a car ride.
Hubba Bubba, and also what was that one on the
You don't push
tape?
me, push a push pop?
Hey, don't push me. Push a push pop.
Push a push pop is also an excellent reference. The tape. Do you remember the tape?
No. Oh, the tape gum.
You pulled it out like a measuring tape?
Yep.
That was good. Anyway. Okay, put that away.
That was the perfect
Okay, so yes, I'm going to be talking about Chupa Chups. Yeah, the story of Chupa Chups, there's so many charming little bits and different paths that I thought it was worth going into a bit more of a deep dive on the origin story and a campaign.
Well, I'm here for it.
And then I'm going to finish up with some collabs because Chupa Chup go hard on the collabs, and so they should.
After Barbie, you've kind of become obsessed with collabs. I feel like it's opened up this whole world to you about collab marketing and how intriguing it is.
Yeah, well, it's like, you know, that kind of white car theory, like you buy a white car, you see white cars. I just keep seeing collabs everywhere.
Well, I look forward to hearing these Chupa Chup collabs because I'm sure they're very like fun and bright and poppy.
Yeah, that personality is really coming through. Like they do not mess around with their collabs. They're beautiful, stunning. Anyway, we'll get onto it. Okay, so the quick history of Chupa Chups, they were created in 1958 by Enric Bernat. And I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that name, but that's my best shot. In Spain.
I didn't know that. That's fact number one for me. I didn't know they were from Spain.
We learn so much in this.
I would have just assumed America.
100%. Yeah, no. So born in Spain, he was the grandson, Enric was the grandson of a famous Spanish confectioner. So, you know, he was, you know, had sugar in his veins. And from my research in, you know, the different areas of this brand story, Enric is a real trailblazer, very ambitious and very visionary. And so the origin story of the Chupa Chup is that he kept seeing that candy was obviously mostly being eaten by children, but they were kept getting their hands sticky because they suck on it and then they'd get in trouble off their parents, and it was just like a big fail for everyone. So his idea was to put the lolly on a stick so that essentially it was acting as an eating utensil for this bonbon or lolly.
Innovation.
Exactly. Innovation. That's a through line for Chupa Chups, is like this innovation. It starts with that.
And it's a simple thing, isn't it?
Most good ideas are literally just simply solving this like universal problem.
But then surely lollipops existed before Chupa Chups. Like, what year is this?
Yeah, 1958. So, look, I've got in my notes, I'm not 100% convinced that he created the concept of a lollipop.
No.
But because, yeah, I feel like I've seen many a picture of a Victorian, you know, well-to-do Victorian English child holding, you know, one of those big lollipops.
Yeah, with like a cat in a bonnet.
Yeah, exactly. You know exactly the visual language I'm talking about.
Yeah, 100% have seen that.
So what I wonder, it was enough that he got a patent for it. So I wonder if it was that it was like that round lolly, that round small lolly that you put like the whole thing in your mouth.
AKA a choking hazard.
Yeah, more of a bonbon,
Yes.
you know, like rather than like a big round lolly. Also, I think the plastic stick apparently was an innovation that he was able to get a patent. So he's very focused on like patenting all of his ideas so that, you know, he really set himself up for success and no one could, you know, not worry too much about competition.
True, because I guess the size, the shape, instead of like a flat lollipop where you like lick it, you know, the whole thing gets popped in your mouth. So yeah, I can see that is, it is a new.
Yeah, you kind of can put it in your mouth and get on with, you know, your day.
Yeah.
You know, using both hands.
If
you know,
wanted
you don't.
to.
If you wanted to.
Hands-free lollies on sticks.
Okay, so Chupa Chups were originally called Gol. Gol.
Not as catchy.
Not as catchy. So that is Spanish for goal. The idea being that your mouth is like the goal or the net. You know, Spain, it's soccer, it's football, it's like they're soccer mad. And so that your mouth is the net and the lollipop is the ball.
It's very like a beautiful metaphor, but maybe the word's too short. Or also, you know, we probably do have a bias that we've attached to Chupa Chups. Whereas if we were doing this story on Goal and you said the original name was Chupa Chup, we might be like, wow, that's long. I don't know. Chupa Chup's better.
Yeah, Chupa Chups better. It didn't catch on. So in 1960, so it was only Goal for 2 years.
Okay.
They got an agency involved and they went with Chups. So it was just called Chups, which comes from the word chupa, which is the Spanish verb, which means to suck.
It's a cute little word. Chupa chupa.
Yeah, chupa. So in fact, in Spain, they call it Chupa Chups.
Chupa this.
Yeah. Chupa that. So I'm going to keep calling it Chupa Chups, but Chupa Chups is the actual correct pronunciation. I was thinking like, you know, we do renaming. It does make sense, but again, just like presenting to suck as a name.
Oh, yeah, but I think because that's what people are doing and the word's so cute.
It is.
But yeah, it is kind of like,
and they did change the word. It's Chups, not Chupa.
Yeah, and I can't imagine trying to get like a lollipop brand called Sucks off the line. You are right.
Yes.
Sucker Sucks.
Sucker Sucks. So that is your name change number one. But then in 1963, so 3 years later, they had a radio jingle come out, which, as we have previously discussed, the power of a jingle.
It's good.
Very strong, runs very deep. So this apparently was a real brainworm and people really latched onto it. And so I searched high and low for this. And when I say high and low, I mean I Googled it like 3 times in 3 different ways.
No delivers.
No bueno. But what I did do is get a friend of a friend who is Spanish to say it. So I've got it on a voice note.
Okay.
So let me see if I can load it up here. Admittedly, I would have liked him to sound a little bit more enthusiastic and radio jingly, but he didn't. But that's okay. We get the idea.
Chupa un dulce, rameo e chupa, chupa, chupa un chups.
I love it. Chupa, chupa, chupa on chups.
Exactly. So that you've absolutely nailed what everybody got excited about. So the chupa, chupa, chupa on chups really stuck in everyone's heads and everyone just started calling them Chupa Chups. Chupa Chups.
Really?
And so, so it translates something like get something sweet to suck, suck, suck like a chups.
It's so funny as well because I think the natural inclination in naming is to shorten, but this was a name lengthening.
It was, and I guess it's a really good example of the company listening to its audience and going, okay, word on the street is that our customers are calling it Chupa Chups, like that's like this slang endearing term. So they officially changed the name to Chupa Chups.
Listening to your audience. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, so it's very cute and I love the pivot.
I love that evolution actually. Goal to Chups to Chupa Chups.
Exactly. So for 8 years, they crack along, all going well, but they're still just in Spain. So Enric, as I said, real trailblazer, very goal-oriented. He wants to go global, essentially, and he knows his he needs to rebrand to support that global expansion. So this is the part of the story that led me into the whole kind of story of Chupa Chups, and it really got my graphic design nerd persona a little hot and bothered. Did you know that the Chupa Chups logo was designed by Salvador Dali?
No.
I know, right? How good is that little design nugget?
We both just got so high-pitched over Salvador Dali designing a logo.
The intersection of art and design never fails to absolutely just thrill a graphic design nerd.
And also his big name, that's a big deal.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know, it's Dali.
Okay.
As you can see, I've gone very deep.
How else would you pronounce it?
Dali. Just the emphasis. Dali.
Oh, not Dalai.
We say Dali.
Ah, Dali. Okay, I get it.
Dali.
Not just Salvador Dali.
Dali. He is an iconic surrealist artist, also Spanish, very much known for his eccentric personality and for that signature moustache that kind of goes up at the sides. We'll put the moustache on. We'll put more than this, but the moustache, I think, it is just a real whistle, dog whistle to oh, yeah, that guy.
It's funny because you probably picture him before you picture any of his art.
Yes, I know. Well, I put the moustache in before talking about his most famous painting. It's called The Persistence of Memory, which has got all the melting clocks in this barren landscape. Yeah. So the story goes, now there's many urban legends and many slight variations of this story, but I'm just going to go with what I feel is right. And how this kind of deal came to be. But in 1969, Dali was commissioned by Enric to design the Chupa Chups logo. Some people say they were friends and Enric was just complaining to Dali in a cafe one day about, he couldn't get the branding right and Dali just started sketching. So I feel that's probably that urban legend.
Or the brand story they wanted to share.
Yes, exactly. That it was just like this very organic moment in time, whether it's that or a more kind of commercial style deal. But he is rumored to have been paid $1 million, which in the 60s is quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, reportedly he sketched it out on a newspaper in a cafe in an hour.
So $1 million for an hour.
Mm-hmm. One concept. So, yes, I've got here, this is our 2025 pricing policy for logos.
Oh, if only.
If only. One concept, 1 hour, $1 million.
Well, that's the Dali tax, isn't it? So has it ever changed since? Like, is it?
No. So this is the amazing thing. I'll explain what he did and what has changed.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't change all that much from what Enrique already had.
That's not what $1 million cash will get you. Just a little tweak.
A little refresh.
Wow.
So, yeah, the original logo, the Chupa is in this like blocky sans serif font in black. And then the Chops is in that cursive stylized font that you would see on one of the lollipops today. The Chupa is in black,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Chops is in red.
Okay, so already it's a little bit less simplified. There's a bit more going on typography and colour-wise.
Dali changed the Chupa to a condensed serif font. So again, like not revolutionary and, kind of neither here nor there. But what he did do was change it from black to red. So the whole thing was in red.
That was 500,000.
Yeah. So one piece. So actually, you can break it up into 3 things, right? So he changed it all to red.
Okay.
Number 1. So that's $333,000.
For that decision, that bold decision.
Yeah. The second thing he did was that he set it in that daisy style shape.
Okay, I'll give him that. That's very iconic to them.
Yes. So he set the red type on the yellow daisy background so that, no matter what this logo sat on in packaging wise, that central logo would never be messed with. Like the legibility of that logo would never be messed with.
So he really gave them like an iconic shape to own and made it more usable and flexible as a design system. So I think we should give that one maybe 600,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And then lastly, his last stroke of genius was to place it on the top.
Ah.
It's not on the side, so that like you would always see the logo when it's kind of counter displayed.
Yeah, that is really clever. So
isn't it?
What about the P? Did the P, how the P has the little kickback?
Yeah, that was always there.
That was already there. He didn't come up with that.
No.
I mean, he definitely did some stuff.
He did some stuff.
It's so funny as well, like thinking, why was he doing logos? Like, he's an artist. Why would he come to the lowly level of
Of commercialism.
Of commercialism, exactly.
So he was actually, art history lesson, he was actually kicked out of the Surrealists for his engagement in commercial work. Yes, Andre Breton had an acronym for him. I can't remember what it was. Not an acronym. What's the other one where they make they shuffle the letters around? Anyway, whatever. And they were making fun of how Dali would do heaps of commercial work. So he's in an ad for Lambin. He did Chupa Chups. He did heaps of stuff like alcohol brands.
Okay.
He did heaps of commercial work. And, yeah, he actually got rejected by the Surrealists for it.
Snooty bunch. It's funny back then when it was like there was packs of artists who used to be like the cool guys on the street.
I don't feel like we have that anymore. So, as I said before, it hasn't changed that much since then. So the only real noticeable change happened in 1988 when they changed the Chupa to that same cursive style, and they put some line work around the daisy and just like kind of tidied it up. But apart from that, since 1988, it hasn't changed.
And it never will have to.
No, very impressive brand. So, yeah, every time we buy one of these little treaties, we're buying a Salvador Dali print.
Will make me feel a lot more elevated when I'm like passing these out in childhood party bags.
Yeah, you're an art distributor.
I love that. That's great for me.
So moving on, I can't quite place when they created their brand message, and I actually think it could be as recently as 2017, but I think, looking back at their campaigns and everything that they've done and the way that they've positioned themselves. Like when they did come up with this, it wasn't like creating something new. It was just like defining the essence of what they already had. But it's forever fun, which I love for them.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it really captures all of that essence really beautifully. Since launching globally, Chupa Chups has become one of the best-selling products in the world, and it's been incredibly successful embedding itself into pop culture. And you see this more and more, right? So as you said before, I've become very like interested in collaborations and the way that brands create conversation and embed themselves in people's life and lifestyle choices. And I think, that more and more is becoming the way to market yourself through these collaborations and becoming a part of the conversation. And that doesn't mean that you have to have a position on every controversial topic, but it means you put yourself into culture, into pop culture, whatever is suitable.
Yeah, I think when we come to my break story, this is very relevant as well. It's like choosing collaborations that are in line with your purpose and like your core values. And if that is in line, then that's where the magic happens.
Absolutely. So they've had hundreds of consumer product and fashion collabs, and they even had a fashion line of their own at one point, and really sits into that intersection of innovation from the product itself, art and branding excellence and self-expression. And they've really created a brand that people want to align themselves with. So there's one campaign that I thought was really worth chatting about and exploring, and then I'll highlight a couple of the collabs that caught my eye. Sorry, I sounded a bit bogan there. Caught my eye.
It's for the people.
Okay, so the following details of this campaign are a little bit sketchy timeline-wise, but different sources have different times attached, and rather than just delete the whole thing, I thought, definitely worth a mention. So in the 80s, in a bid to get more adult customers, they started linking themselves heavily to the anti-smoking movement.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like a lollipop instead of a cigarette.
Exactly.
That's very clever.
It's very clever, isn't it?
And sort of healthier. I mean, I'm not sure sugar, pure sugar tapped into our veins is the best thing either, but, maybe a step up from smoking.
Yeah, and man, it was the 80s. We were going to school with like sugar sandwiches.
I even remember in my primary school, there was like a teacher's smoking section on the outside playground. I love how funny that is now. You just can't even believe it, right?
Absolutely not.
And my teacher smelled like, 700 cigarettes.
Primary school.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, the 80s was a wild time. Anyway, so around this time in the 80s, they launched their first slogan or campaign, which is Smoke Chupa Chups.
Smoke Chupa Chups.
Mm-hmm.
I love how much that would not fly now as well.
I know. The strategy gained momentum, and by the early 90s, prominent people like Johan Cruyff, who was the Barcelona Football Club's manager, began what they called chain-sucking Chupa Chups.
Oh, okay.
So apparently he was quite a prominent person in Barcelona. So, okay, I saw this meme on the weekend, which I was like, okay, that's helpful for me. Saying Barcelona either makes you sound like a bogan or like a total wanker.
So how are you saying it? You're going with Barcelona.
Well, I said Barcelona, so I'm going bogan because I feel like saying Barcelona is like, it's too much.
Maybe if you're in country.
Yes, exactly. I would follow people's lead.
Mm-hmm. But
Okay,
yeah,
so
here in Australia, Barcelona, it's okay.
It's okay. All right. Okay, so the chain-sucking Chupa Chups. So 2005, Chupa Chups doubled down on this and commissioned research that quoted 50% of former smokers said its lollipops helped them drop the habit.
Yeah, because you're just being able to still do that motion.
Yeah, and have something in your mouth and, have something to, I guess, look forward to, replace that habit with.
Yeah.
In 2006, after the Barcelona government approved a smoking ban on January 1, Chupa Chups reported that, quote, our sales increased 50% in the first 15 days of the year, and we didn't do anything in terms of promotions different from last year. Chupa Chups is rushing to install vending machines in typical smoker hangouts such as restaurants, cafes and bars. I love that restaurants, cafes and bars are just typical smoker hangouts.
And just that dealing out Chupa Chups, I don't think that is a habit that caught on in your bars.
No. And they, as part of this, distributed like a whole bunch of Chupa Chups to like hospitals and rehab centres and yeah.
It's funny because, the sugar aspect does also, that's not what the message that's being pushed in a hospital today.
No.
It's basically no fun. You guys can have no fun.
No.
No sugar, no smoking.
Yeah, we can't even have aspartame anymore.
What one is it? Oh, the fake
like
sugar.
Diet, yeah, the fake sugar.
I hate that taste anyway, so that's fine for me.
In more recent times, and again, I'm being purposely vague because I'm like, what does that mean? Can you give me a timestamp? But the campaign, the anti-smoking, chain-smoking Chupa Chups campaign has pushed the envelope a little bit further with the slogan, stop smoking, start sucking.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So, and then the packaging comes in a little box that parodies a cigarette box and has like that little black and white health warning label,
This is not okay for a product that's aimed at children.
But it's not. Like, so this is aimed at adults.
But how will the children know the difference?
Well, I guess they're not going to be placed on countertops.
Okay. These are the seal behind the, counter.
I think so. Like, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure where these are placed or even like how recent it is, but they did exist at some point. They had the health warning labels with the phrase, sucking does not kill.
Clever.
Also, it depends on what you're sucking.
Oh my God. Keep moving.
What I do love about this is that even though they're positioning themselves alongside something that is serious, or reaching out to a new audience, like a completely new audience, they're staying true and aligned to their brand positioning of forever fun, but the playfulness comes across in a completely different way.
Yeah.
So they're being a bit sexy and a bit cheeky, a bit like tongue-in-cheek. So you've still got that playfulness and that forever fun, but it's in like an adult way as opposed to a way that's for kids and tweens.
Yeah, they've definitely, stayed true to that core and been able to open up their target market from 7-year-olds.
And so moving on to collabs. So there are countless. There is anything you want to align yourself with, like there is a Chupa Chup product there. There's makeup, phone cases, protein powder, soft furnishings. I saw a protein bar in Chemist Warehouse yesterday.
Really?
They're everywhere.
A Chupa Chup protein bar feels counterintuitive.
Yeah, I nearly bought it. But
in the sake of research, you should.
In the sake of research, but I don't like those protein bars.
Neither.
Most of the campaigns that I saw online, they're absolutely stunning. They absolutely do not mess around with their campaigns and the visuals because they've got this beautiful, fun, extravagant brand that just has that real fun vibe.
Vibrancy.
Vibrancy is the perfect word. Thank you.
The colours and everything.
Yeah, so All Kinds, that tween skincare brand?
Yes, I do actually. It's the colourful one, isn't it?
Yeah. So they released a line of skin products, which is perfect.
So fun.
Chat Time, the boba tea.
Chupa Chup boba tea.
Mm-hmm.
Clever.
So just last year they did a 6-week multi-channel and influencer marketing campaign called Tea That Pops.
So good.
And so they had the grape flavour, which I've just indulged in, and the strawberries and cream. So they had like the milky tea and then they had the grape like iced tea.
And people go crazy over this stuff.
Don't they just?
This is like Patricia Flower moment, but for, tea. They'll line up for this.
They will. American Tourista, the luggage brand.
No. Beautiful
luggage. They have an amazingly beautiful campaign. They've got like all these people dancing in this weird like colourful house and, one of the characters has a Chupa Chup head and you can get these suitcases now. So highly recommend going and checking all that out.
It's a bit of an expensive side gig for you sometimes, isn't it, Kylie? You get tempted to buy these collabs.
Oh, well, just you wait. Hi Smile, that toothpaste brand, they've done a collab, but I just can't get behind that, because it's all like chalk swirl flavoured toothpaste.
No.
Anyway, this is my favourite collab though, and I am continue to be so tempted by this after living in a world dominated by Chupa Chups for the last few weeks, and you know how high fashion kind of beguiles me and enchants me, even though I'm way too much of a scabby bitch to ever actually fork out for it.
Same. Hey, it doesn't even beguile me. I know where I am. I know what price point I'm at.
Fendi.
Okay. Yeah, that's out of my budget.
In their autumn-winter 24-25 fashion show, so pretty recently, the Italian fashion house Fendi unveiled a very cute but completely eccentric and ridiculous leather Chupa Chup holder bag charm.
So it holds a Chupa Chup.
It holds a Chupa Chup perfectly. It's leather. It's beautiful.
Maybe that's the one thing from Lanvin I can afford. I mean, from Fendi.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm like, just a little like treaty treat.
How much is it?
Do you want me to show you a picture?
So it's a key ring. It's a key ring. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I love it because it's insane.
Yeah, it's so extravagant and ridiculous, but also just it's the Chupa Chup brand of it. Like it's got this allure to it.
It's like a full leather Fendi bag in the shape of a lollipop, and then the stick sits down and then you can close half of like it opens like a Pokemon ball. So you can pull your Fendi branded Chupa Chup out. Yes,
exactly. They did release some special flavors for the club as well. But it holds any normal
flavor.
Yeah, it holds a normal Chupa Chup. Just your standard watermelon or grape will be fine.
That's insane. And I did just see that one of them online was going for $900. So out of my bag price point.
Yeah, they're $950.
It's crazy. I don't know what I think about the world when I see things like that.
I feel torn because obviously we're acutely aware because of a lot of our clients work in humanitarian spaces. We're acutely aware that there's a lot of terrible, terrible things going on in the world. But there is something so like adorable and like designery and like cute about it.
Cute, but it's basically just a little lollipop attention whore.
It's silly.
It's very silly.
Ah, dear. Okay, so I've got this quote from a blog I read called promostyle.com that I thought summed it up really well. So it says, utilitarian and extravagant. That's how Fendi's latest collection is summed up in its note of intent. And this unusual accessory could well be the perfect embodiment of that. The Chupa Chups lollipop holder, the result of a collaboration between Fendi's Fun Fur and Chupa Chups Forever Fun, takes the form of a lollipop holder to be worn around the neck or attached to a bag. It offers wearers an ultra chic opportunity to add a touch of whimsy to any look. Crafted in 4 distinct hues from buttery soft leather, the accessory recalls Fendi leather crafting traditions in an entirely new way, infusing the accessory with the visionary, spirited energy that lives at the core of both Fendi and Chupa Chups. It features the double F logo designed in 1966 by Karl Lagerfeld, 3 years before Salvador Dali created the Chupa Chups logo.
I mean, stop name dropping, guys.
Yeah, that ultimate name dropping, isn't it?
Yeah. But really, that's a ridiculous write-up, taking a ridiculous little lollipop bag way too seriously.
Yeah, I agree. But, one day maybe when we're charging $1 million for a concept,
you'll be giving them out as like little Christmas favours to family and
bonbons.
Friends.
Yeah. I'm going to finish there. But in closing, Chupa Chups really took me on a journey I wasn't expecting. So they're an almost perfect brand. Like, honestly, I couldn't find any controversies or anything. They're just this really wholehearted, fun, experimental brand. And I love that they haven't even played it safe, the whole time with that kind of expansion into, alignment with the anti-smoking movement. So they've taken risks and gone after different audiences. So they have all the ingredients. They've got that innovation and the genuine value add of the product itself, the listening and centering the way that users were interacting with the brand, from people hijacking the jingle, which led to the name change, and the idea of putting the logo on top of the lollipop. Again, it's like thinking about how are people going to find this product in the store. They're always going to be able to see the top of that, the way that they're displayed. They place a lot of importance on design and visual identity. They really understand their brand in the market and they value their brand. They don't let anyone mess around, despite all of these collaborations that they really protect the essence of their brand. And yeah, as I said, they're brave enough to go after new audiences because like the anti-smoking movement, it's pretty left field and it could have been a bit of a disaster, but they're basing that strategy on data and again on that genuine value. So yeah, I think that everyone should go and suck on a Chupa Chup today.
I've had this one up my sleeve for a while. I think it's a classic. I'm going to mix up the clue system again, as I like to do, because I don't think you're going to guess this particular case study, but you can guess who I'm talking about. And I'm going to tell you up front that the genre is magazines.
Okay.
So you're just going to have to guess which magazine it is, and I'm just going to read you 3 of some of their crazy...
Dolly.
Well, let me get through because you're going to guess. The first one I tell you of their crazy cover lines is what I'm going to do, just the headlines that they've had on their cover over the years. I'm going to read you 3 and then you're going to guess who they are because it's very obvious. So here are the 3 headlines. 1, why you should be a jealous bitch and 6 other relationship secrets. 2, tease him and please him with the subhead, a wild new use for your loofah. And 3, what your vajayjay is dying to tell you.
Oh my God. It's got to be like Cleo.
No.
Or Cosmo.
Cosmo. It's Cosmo. Cosmopolitan.
Cosmopolitan.
Which were like, I feel like just...
Cleo and Cosmo were similar, right?
They were the same.
Yeah.
You got your Cleos and your Cosmos, then you had your L's and your Mary Claires.
And your Harper's Bazaar.
And your Vogues sat above that in tiers of women magazine. And then obviously, Dolly and Girlfriend for the younger demographic. But I just thought I'd mix it up and I did a bit of a Google online to find these headlines. And they're so funny. Like they're always like these random 65 ways to, do something sick.
I love the number 2, new ways to use your loofah.
That really sets the tone for this story. I'll just say that.
Okay.
But this one...
I'm really getting excited. Women's magazines.
Women's magazines in the 90s as well, I'll say. But this one I didn't make my top 3. Meow, why acting like a cat will get people to come to you.
Oh, my God.
It's ridiculous. It's just like this, probably a pretty average story on how to be aloof, and they've dressed it up with a ridiculous headline, which is, the start of clickbait.
It's an original Daily Mail.
Pretty much we used to get clickbaited only in the line at the supermarket, and now it's just being thrown at us all the time.
Why will acting like a cat make people drawn to me?
You want to know. Right? Well,
cut to me like Googling, why acting like a cat? ChatGPT.
Do you want me to start headbutting people when you want food?
Just swiping people's faces? Slapping them in the face when they get too close?
Yeah, exactly. So don't take it too seriously, Cosmopolitan magazine, I'd say. But they're our brand, and like I said, the era of this particular story is the 90s, and it was 1999 that this thing they did happened. So I think in the 90s, it's safe to say women's magazines were kind of at the start, or they were in their heyday. So, that was around the time that celebrities, for example, took over from models on the cover. And I think, I was thinking about it, it's before the digital era. So they kind of were almost a shrine of otherwise impossible to get content. If you wanted to know about, certain issues that related to women, this one monthly magazine was where you could get that. Or if you wanted to read an Alicia Silverstone interview, this was the place to get it. You couldn't just go on a blog or Google it. Like they held the key to this womanhood and this culture. And I think they sort of promoted a lot of the joyous aspects about being a woman in that time. And I think getting a magazine felt special. Like it was a little treat. I kind of miss that.
Absolutely. I still do love buying a magazine every now and then, but I do find that I don't read them. Like I'll buy it and I'll be like, because I think it feels nostalgic but I'll often, I might read a thing or 2, but I don't, turn to it the way that, I think the first magazines that I was obsessed with was Smash Hits.
Oh, yes.
when you're probably even just a bit young
Yeah.
for Dolly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like when you're kind of like 9 and 10, and I was obsessed with Eddie Vedder and Paula Abdul and like would buy smash hits and video hits, I think.
Video hits, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, and like cut, you know, pictures of them out and
Yes.
stick it on my wall and,
Oh, I know.
you know, all of that kind of thing.
Sticking
So
like posters you got from magazines on your wall. I actually do remember, like you're saying you don't read them now, but I remember getting my first ever Cosmopolitan. I remember the whole like magazine. I had Victoria Beckham on the cover and I read it front to back. Like I read every single word over and over again.
Over and over and
Any
again.
word that was there, like even like little like captions of photos was read by me because, you know, like I said, that was the only place I could get this content. We were being led by the powers of the media. They were like these little Bibles of culture that we got to have once a month. And I know I personally was like big fan. Big fan. Cosmo wasn't the one I took into my like older years. I think I graduated into a Marie Claire probably around 18 quite quickly. A bit more sensible.
I think I missed Cosmo a bit. Yeah, I kind of went from
Dolly
Smash Hits to Dolly to Marie Claire, I think. And Harper's Bazaar.
I never read Vogue. I found that a little bit borza.
Yeah, I think I just like looking at the pictures of Harper's Bazaar. I actually was in a Dolly magazine once.
Get out.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing?
Ironically, it was when I was in my 20s.
The plot thickens.
No, one of my friends worked for Dolly.
Oh.
She was the sub-editor of Dolly. And so they did this feature where all the Dolly team had their best friend come in and like get interviewed.
Cute.
Yeah, very cute. So
you were the bestie.
Yes, I was a bestie. So yeah, we got to go in and get our makeup and hair done.
What moment?
Yeah, have a photo shoot and got interviewed. It was very cute.
Do you have a scrapbook of this that we can share?
I mean, I probably have it lying around somewhere. Like I'm, have hoarder tendencies, so I'm pretty sure I could dig it out somewhere.
I kind of imagine you guys in a studio, someone sitting on a box and you're like laughing, looking at each other. Is it like that kind of?
It's very, very 2000s-y.
Yeah.
I actually can remember what I was wearing. I think I was wearing layered tank tops.
Nice. Very nice.
Do you remember like you'd have a really long one and then a short one
on top?
Yeah.
Fashion.
And beads. And lots of beads.
Yeah. Okay, you have to find this. Anyway, moving along to the story. So Cosmo's demographic is kind of like that 18, they say 18 to 24 market. I think it's younger. I know my first one was way too young, but, you know, they position themselves as this pillar for pop culture, sex, relationships, and advice. And I think Cosmo owned that sealed section of the market. Like they were a little bit spicier, like I mentioned in the headlines. Like they had these, you know, sex advice lists often and that kind of thing, whether they were very useful or not. With that in mind, you know, they were getting more and more successful in the 90s. And they did that thing that corporations and companies always want to do, which is expand. You know, they're not just going to be magazines anymore, going to try something new. So this is in 1999, and using an insight they have, apparently, allegedly, it was the British Cosmo had this particular insight, which was 65% of British people like to use some kind of food while having sex. And with, yeah, apparently.
How many? 60?
Quite high numbers, I think, 65%.
Okay.
Anyway, not going to go into that. You do you, guys. But anyway.
Yeah, no judgment. Judgment-free zone.
This is going to be a judgment-free zone. But anyway, this particular, very specific insight apparently was the inspiration to come up with a line of products and move into a new market. Kylie, I'm just going to throw to you. What do you think their product was?
Dairy?
What? I'm not. No, you're right.
Oh, my God.
That's why I'm like... You absolute creeper.
I'm such a sicko.
How did you get that?
I went to whipped cream. I feel like that's the most obvious thing, surely, whipped cream.
I would have probably thought chocolate.
Okay.
But melting chocolate. But no, the crazy thing is you were right on the dairy, but they didn't make whipped cream.
Whipped cream.
No,
okay.
What they made is a line of dairy products, specifically Cosmopolitan branded yogurt. But they had fromage fresh as well.
Stop it.
But I think this is where it gets confusing to me. Like a women's magazine and dairy products. Young women magazine, dairy products.
Like, to me, that would make more sense if their target market was like women in their late 30s and 40s.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think it's just the connections are very loose here.
I mean, it's a very loose connection anyway. Like, it's a bad choice.
And I also think I'm just like a little bit suspicious, if I'm honest. I have a conspiracy theory coming up, but I think they've probably got hundreds of random insight statistics like that through their research and surveys that they do. Why just like latch onto one random statistic about how people use food and sex to launch a whole range of products? Like, that doesn't really make any sense. Like, the connections are too loose to sell it in. Like, I'm like, how do they get this across the line in the boardroom? Anyway, I was just like, I don't think anyone's ever going to go down the supermarket aisle and be like Cosmopolitan yogurt and even draw that connection to the inside. They're just going to be like, oh, Cosmo has yogurt now, random.
And it seems like quite narrow.
It's very narrow.
I feel like if they were going to do it, like, you want to go, as I said, a full range of dairy products and like really like.
Well, they did actually have cheese as well. But again, like, who's using blocks of cheese?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And why? Yeah. And okay, it's all, yeah.
So
okay,
this is my conspiracy theory, which, is a little bit like backed up.
Pop the tinfoil hat on.
Well, backed up by some of my investigative Googling. The bigger connection for them to jump into dairy is probably, unfortunately, more the whole toxic diet culture aspect, because the products that they released were low fat, so low fat yogurt, low fat cheese. And, at the time, they were unfortunately still running articles about weight loss and promoting very unrealistic body image standards for women alongside their empowerment message.
So the idea was that they would do like cross promotions? Obviously they would.
No, it was just their own Cosmo branded yogurt and cheese and stuff. So there was no cross promotion.
But they might say in their magazine, like, 10 tips to trim belly fat. And then it'd be like, eat a Cosmo yogurt every morning for breakfast.
I feel like that's the intention, but they never actually went there. So I feel it was probably a time when, they were walking the line of knowing, the unpopularity of this, message that they had been pushing was going down. So they were at that crossroads of being more like, okay, we want to bring positivity to women and not, set unrealistic beauty standards or talk about things that are important outside looks and that kind of thing. So I think they wanted to go there and be that pillar of empowerment for women, but they still had their legacy of like the diet culture and
the clickbaity headlines.
So I think what actually happened is, at the time when it was released, they did say they wanted to extend into the health food market, aka diet market of food. And they were also launching these lifestyle gyms. So they probably had an idea that
lifestyle gyms,
Cosmopolitan branded lifestyle centers where you'd walk in. They had these ideas that you do your workout and grab your Cosmo yogurt. And like, they probably had this crazy idea, which was, obviously not very well thought out. But then in 5 years, once people were kind of like, the product's already gone, it didn't last long, they kind of did a bit of, takesy-backsies and planted this stat in the media themselves as the reason that they made the yogurt to be in line with their, spicy, fun, women power, daring side, to try and cover up the fact that it was all about dieting.
Right.
That's my sneaky little, conspiracy
theory,
tinfoil hat theory. I definitely think that's what happened. And in a way I was like, well, it's probably clever. You probably want people laughing that you were misguidedly trying to make the weird sex yogurt instead of diet culture. I think there's more going to be a bigger public outcry. So I think clever on their marketing.
When was this?
90s and 2000s when they planted the statistic.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when did they release the yogurt?
99.
Didn't
last long. Anyway, moving into a bit of a case study deconstruction and analysis phase of why did their yogurt fail. And I mean, I don't think we really even need to ask the question. We all know why Cosmo yogurt failed, but I'm going to pull out my key points and persevere anyway. For me, the most obvious standout is they didn't understand their target market and what those people actually wanted from their brand. So let's just take me as a case study. The younger end, the preteen demographic.
Preteen?
Yeah, I think I was quite young.
Mate, no one was reading Cosmo as a preteen.
No, I was 12. Look, maybe it was...
Oh, my God, that is way too young.
Maybe it was a long summer and Mum was like, oh, she's read Girlfriend Dolly, here's a Cosmo. But anyway, 15. Let's go 15. 15-year-old Miranda. Like, we loved Cosmo. It was signalled with...
12-year-old. Jesus. Little sexy Miranda at 12.
Well, definitely little clueless Miranda at 12 is definitely more the case. But, it signalled we were mature. It's made us feel cool and worldly to read it. So if Mum or Dad did go to the supermarket, we were trying to get a copy of Cosmo, but I don't think we cared, what yogurt we were getting, whether it was Uplay or Cosmo. It didn't matter.
No.
And I think it's like that brand love or brand loyalty, as a product, it can't cross over.
Just the wrong product, yeah.
Because, if you're buying something, what's that name for like when you're like...
Brand loyalty?
Brand loyalty or brand advocacy. When you become, you want that product because it's your association with the brand is signalling a little bit about your personality. And,
like a brand champion.
Yeah. But I don't think that, walking around the schoolyard with a Cosmo yogurt was that important to teens.
I don't think so. I'm trying to cast my mind back. I mean, obviously when you're a teenager, brands matter a lot, but I don't think it's the food that you eat, like the brands of food that you eat. It's more like your fashion and your hair care and your skin care and your jewelry and like your self-expression. I don't think food has, well, certainly not then, maybe now, but like then it,
I don't think you're going to be like, I love Cosmo. Oh my gosh, now they do dairy. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think even if you think about like if they're saying that 18 to 24 was their demographic, like even then you're still like, you're just struggling to survive. Like you're not going to be buying Cosmo yogurt, are you?
No,
you're
well, that was
2-minute noodles and like Nutrigrain and
Mega Ring,
Yeah, exactly. And just walking around with a box of Nutrigrain,
no fromage fresh.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So anyway, this got me thinking, just a bit of fun. I wanted to see what would happen if I put myself in the mind of 90s Miranda Cosmo buyer and come up with like possibly 3 better product extensions that would suit their target market. Feel free to chime in. We'll just do a quick on-the-fly brainstorm here. So I think a Cosmopolitan range of cheap chemist fragrances or like deodorants, like the Impulse range in Cosmo brand.
Impulse, yes. Well, again, it depends like whether it's like the inappropriate readers or the actual demographic that they're going after. I feel like once you hit 18, Impulse was too young. But I think that the Lovely by SJP, there's a...
Yeah, exactly.
You want the chemist fragrances.
You want the chemist fragrances. Okay, so 2, I just had chemist...
Love that.
Cosmopolitan range of undergarments, even Bond style. I would have wanted some of them at the supermarket. I was
Cotton On.
Yep, Cotton On style. And then my last one, I got a bit more creative, but a Cosmopolitan range of chewing gum, aka 6 ways to eat a meatball sub and still make out with your crush on the subway home. Might be getting more into yogurt territory. Yeah, I moved into advertising. Is that a
little bit semi-autobiographical?
No, definitely. Honestly, I just want to rehash that at 12 I was big dweeb styles. I was Cosmo magazine, but I also had a cactus collection and went to the Cactus Society. So
just love that for you.
Yeah.
Your bird watching era is going to hit you very soon, Miranda.
I'm not there yet, but
I nearly am. It creeps up on you.
I do have a few handbooks handed down from my dad, and I'm not against it.
I had an idea maybe for a collab. It just came to me because for my birthday last year, my friend Sorrel, shout out, gave me a bottle of pink Prosecco by Kylie Minogue, because obviously Kylie. So I feel like, like an RTD or a...
I don't think Prosecco existed then.
A ready to drink.
Like
Smirnoff collab, hard seltzer collab.
Yes, alcohol. Cosmopolitan.
Yes, tinned Cosmos.
Okay, so this is us in 5 minutes, and they made we're so good, and they made yogurt and cheese.
And from our fresh.
Anyway, come on, Cosmo marketing team of 1999. How did they choose yogurt? So reason number 2 they failed flows on nicely, I think, from that one, which is the connection is just too loose. Like no one naturally associates dairy products to Cosmo magazine. It's just too many jumps, and it's not just the randomness of the yogurt, but it's not a product that's been built on the core values of the brand, which were, uplift, empower, champion women. There's no alignment.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, in the Chupa Chups case study, and I was like, going after adults and aligning with the smoking campaign, they put the strategy on data, but like in theory, so did Cosmo. But that what they've done is, just kind of abandon their actual audience.
Yeah, and I think, if the brand wants to extend into new markets, it should feel natural within all that existing brand equity.
Yeah, it's almost like they needed to go full on. Like if they were going to do kind of like what I said before, but I think I've just resolved the thought a bit more. It's kind of like, how Weight Watchers in the 90s and 2000s, they had all that food, like had the biscuits and the milk and they probably had the yogurt and the...
But that makes sense for them.
Yes, totally. But it's almost like they needed to do everything so that you could live and breathe, I don't know,
like Cosmo chocolate,
Cosmo food. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you were like, I don't know, but still,
it's still a weird jump.
Yeah, it's a leap. It's a leap. Stick to mags. Yeah, stick to mags, but guys,
stick to mags.
Well, actually, don't stick to mags because that didn't work out that well.
Well, they still have an online presence. They're okay. They're doing okay. Apparently, they're about to relaunch in Australia as well. Maybe there's demand for the nostalgia of
like a print magazine.
Yeah, apparently.
Really?
I haven't looked into that too in depth. But anyway, so my final reason of why it failed, and it's a very big part as well. Like I don't think it was ever going to last, but this definitely didn't help, is the rollout of the product itself was really bad. So the packaging of the product, it didn't look very much like Cosmo. Like I feel like if you were walking past, even though it had this giant logo on it, there would be a chance that I would just think it was a different company that made yogurt called Cosmopolitan. It had like this white background and just floating etched fruit all around. Yeah, so it didn't look...
So not captivating on a shelf.
Definitely not. It looked a bit everyday, a bit cheap, I think, a bit of your budget, because it was just like this white background, floating fruit, logo smacked on. I was like, even like having a celebrity on there or something like that, would have given it a bit more of that Cosmo feel. Nothing. And then on top of that, they put it at a higher price point than your regular yogurt. So you're asking people to pay more because of the brand equity in your, magazine company, but it didn't look expensive. And also you're coming in, to organizations, legacy yogurt companies that have dairy companies that have existed for hundreds of years, and saying, oh, well, ours is going to be a whole $1 extra. Like, no.
No, I don't think so. Why
Stay in your lane.
Yeah, yeah.
The final thing with the rollout is they put literally no money into advertising this product. So I found this guy from Midwest America on YouTube, some guy who was called King Crazy Crab, or with a K. Anyway, he's just got his YouTube economics project on why Cosmo yogurt failed. And he actually...
I love the internet.
I know, you can find everything. He actually made a very good point.
Can I just quickly ask, is King Crazy Crab all with K's?
Yes.
Okay,
it's
great.
a triple K.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, that's a bit concerning. Anyway, So, he made a good point that they're a magazine company in the 90s who are built on advertising for revenue and obviously the cost of buying a magazine, and they didn't advertise this product. I know, I'll just cut to him just explaining this because he does it so eloquently.
They made millions of dollars through advertising. They did not advertise the yogurt. That shows that the lack of promotion and advertising was one of the main causes for the yogurt's ultimate failure. And with competitors like Yoplait, who had cheaper prices, advertising, and just overall they're a well-known product, that competition put the Cosmopolitan yogurt off of the shelves.
I just don't understand. It's almost like they wanted it to fail.
Well, I feel like
Here's my conspiracy
embarrassed.
tin hat theory. It's just like, did they need a tax break? Like,
Oh, you could be onto something. But
like,
I just think they were
seems
embarrassed.
so strange. What, that they got to market and were like, oh, we've made a huge mistake.
Yeah, I think so. I think the moment they held that first pot in their hot little hands, they're like, what have we done? What have we done? And they didn't want to put it on the pages of the glossy mag.
Okay, well, that's a good theory. That is a good theory.
Because even up front when you were like, oh, yeah, they could have like looped it in. They could have looped it into articles in that subtle like endorsement kind of advertising way. Nothing. They didn't advertise it.
Not even in their own magazine.
No.
Not even giving a couple of cheeky FPCs.
I mean, not that I've been able to find. And
Full page colour.
I'll also just say that I'm taking my intel from King Crazy Crab here.
Okay.
But, I don't want any of like
Hopefully
the marketing team
Hopefully King Crazy Crab
legit.
has done his research, done his own research.
Well, he has a PowerPoint and I don't, so he's done more research than me.
Okay.
He had a bar graph. Anyway, it didn't last long. Like I said, it was only a year and a half. So, yeah, I think this one sits perfectly within the genre of how did this escape the boardroom? Who thought of it? How many eyes saw it? How did it get out into the world? And I really do like a brand extension fail. That's one of the fail genres that really gets me because it's very obvious. The mistake is like this tangible product.
Yeah, it's like very easy to see that, something has gone terribly wrong here. Like the Nike shoe.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I do love a little brand extension whoopsie. So, yep, that's it for me. Any final thoughts, Kylie?
I'm just still low-key cringing that I guess dairy.
So weird. We'll talk about that off mic.
Thanks, Miranda.
Thanks, Kylie. Bye.
And so ends another expedition into the lands of brands and design. We hope you loved it as much as we love creating it. If you did, we would love you to follow us so you never miss an episode and to help other people find us.
If you're interested in learning more about creating brands, we have a free brand strategy workbook you can download from our website, 3blocksleft.com.au.
Until next time, stay on the Odyssey, brave creatives. Bye.